It's unclean. Run! Run from churches where the worship leaves you cold. There is no sense of God because they don't know God. Run! Run from churches where you're comfortable in your sins.
We are entering the climax stage of mankind's existence. A showdown is coming between God and mankind.
And when the people of God are on the march for God, the enemy will not be far away.
You're the temple. You're it. So when they say that they're going to build a third temple, say, hey, it's already here, brother. It's already here. It's mobile. It's on the move. I mean, it's got legs. It's walking around. This temple's going all over the place. It's not stuck in Jerusalem. It's going to Jakarta. It's going to Hong Kong. It's going to Davos, Switzerland. It's going to Shanghai. It's going to Mexico City. This temple's on the move. We're the temple. We're it. We're the temple.
You never know there's a devil until you're seen.
This is Trunews. I'm Rick Wiles. Explosive new video was released today featuring an ABC News co-anchor complaining that her television network superiors blocked her from reporting on the Jeffrey Epstein child trafficking sex scandal. Amy Robach is a co-host for ABC's Good Morning America. She's also the breaking news anchor for ABC News. She vented her frustration during a hot mic moment while confiding inner office politics to an ABC News producer. In the video, Ms. Robach can be heard stating that London's Buckingham Palace applied heavy pressure on ABC News to stop Robach's investigation of Epstein. Ms. Robach also expressed her personal view that Epstein was murdered. The stunning video admitting that ABC News executives shut down an investigation into the biggest child sex trafficking network or scandal in the world was released by James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. Edward Zoll and Doc Burkhart have been following this story today.
And James O'Keefe and Project Veritas have been teasing this release over the past several days, saying, doing kind of a countdown, saying today it was going to be released. They were doing a countdown early this morning, and Edward and I were right there at 9 o'clock this morning watching as this release came down.
I want to say James O'Keefe does a fantastic job.
He really does.
And some of the media out there today, I noticed, were already smearing this story, saying
trying to attack the messenger.
Yes, they attack a right-winger, James O'Keefe. You know, conspiracy theory driven Project Veritas. Project Veritas, known for editing videos. They were putting all the little zingers in to try to get people to not trust this story. No, I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And you have an ABC News co-anchor expressing her frustration that she was blocked from conducting an investigation into Jeffrey Epstein.
And this particular video that Mr. O'Keefe and Project Veritas put together wasn't a series of clips that were kind of glued together, but it was one extended segment where Ms. Robach, just expressed her frustration. James O'Keefe says this came from an insider from ABC News that brought the video out and presented it to Project Veritas. And so this really is compelling. I mean, this shows you the inner workings of the decisions that go on in killing a story, basically.
The biggest story of the past couple years, if you look at this, the ramifications of this are not just that the story didn't come out, is that untold numbers of executives conspired about the access of how to basically not only silence these victims, but more so how they could potentially benefit out of stopping the story from going live. For example, getting an interview with the royal family, or avoiding a potential lawsuit with a very famous lawyer that is involved and was mentioned in the interview.
All right, let's watch the video from Project Veritas. This is what they released today, showing that ABC News deliberately covered up the Jeffrey Epstein child sex trafficking scandal. Watch this.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
But the creepy thing is that we would make access to all of these high-profile people.
Well, then I got a little concerned about why I couldn't get on. So do I think he was killed? 100%. Yes, I do. Because he made his whole living blackmailing people. Yeah. There were a lot of men in those planes, a lot of men who visited that island, a lot of powerful men who came into that apartment.
I mean, when I heard he was found in his cell selling his money,
I knew immediately. And they made it seem as though he made that suicide attempt 2 weeks earlier, but his lawyers claimed that he was roughed up by his cellmate around the neck. That was all like to plant the seed, and then that's why I really believe it. Like, really believe it.
he's got to have left evidence, like, in the, unexplained.
Well, Ghislaine Maxwell, who I had all sorts of stuff on her too. I love it. I'm like, it's so funny to hear everyone say her name now, because I'm like, oh my God, like, I had all that, and everyone was like, who's that? Who cares? I kept getting that. Who cares? She knows everything. She should be careful. Well, she was his, like, she went out and recruited all of these girls.
Stand by.
She should watch her back. Because if she goes, I mean, I'd have like security guards all around me.
Amy Robach needs to watch her back. She's in trouble. She's seriously in trouble. But she doesn't get about Ghislaine Maxwell. The reason Maxwell's not picked up is that she does have bodyguards.
Right.
She's well protected.
In high places.
Robach,
She's got
Ms. Robach does not, she's not connected the dots yet that Ghislaine Maxwell was the handler, the one running the entire operation. When she puts that together in her head, it's going to blow her mind out, because then she's going to realize the scope of the scandal, of what was really taking place. She made an interesting comment. She said Jeffrey Epstein made his wealth by blackmailing men. How did she know that?
She's been doing the investigation. She's been following up all the leads. The same way we have. We just ask questions and we look at the evidence, and we've been saying the same thing, Rick. But to hear it come out of out of an ABC News anchor in a hot mic moment, this is what she really believed.
When you think about it, what she noted here, she said that she had other women that corroborated the statements given by Virginia Giuffre Roberts at the primary.
I think it's
Giuffre Roberts. Given by her in 2015, she's become the primary witness. But think about this: the other women that corroborated it. What did they know? What were they involved in that maybe led them to tell this reporter, I was involved in basically a sex party with this so-and-so person, and it was recorded. I know this because maybe Jeffrey Epstein had mentioned he had photos or video from that. We know that when the police went to Jeffrey Epstein's mansion in New York, they took hundreds, thousands of photos, video, all kinds of things from there. And have we seen any of that, Rick? Those pictures, those videos, they're hidden away now.
They're with Anthony Weiner's laptop.
And the 30,000 emails?
No, 600,000 emails.
600,000.
600,000 emails to Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin that were on Anthony Weiner's laptop. And the police, the New York City police, who did a great job, were stopped in their investigation by the FBI. The FBI went in and seized control of the laptop to make sure it's never seen. Just like the FBI has covered up this Epstein case. Have they yet raided the Epstein Zorro Ranch?
No, they have not.
Nothing.
And where's Ghislaine Maxwell? She's still out there.
They're not looking for her, Doc. They're not looking for her. She's part of the whole intelligence operation. This country's so compromised. She made reference to Prince Andrew, the brother of the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, the son of the Queen. And he's deeply implicated in this. And she said the palace, meaning Buckingham Palace, began applying pressure to ABC News.
Inferring potentially threats of access, threats of maybe something else. She did mention in there that Ghislaine and maybe others should be worried, should have bodyguards. That would infer that some people would want to do harm to make sure this story stayed covered up.
But again, Ghislaine Maxwell is in no danger.
No.
None at all. She's well protected. She can go to In-N-Out Burger and sit and eat hamburgers and read novels. Nothing's going to happen to her. But Prince Andrew, Buckingham Palace is very nervous that his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein is going to be revealed. One reference she made was that ABC News was given access to Prince William for an interview. So this is the way that Buckingham Palace would move a news organization away from a story. It's like, hey,
Drop this story.
Would you like an exclusive interview in Buckingham Palace with Prince William? Well, the message is clear. If you run that story, you're never going to get it. But if you don't run that story, you can be over here tomorrow.
Well, you think about other than the peddling of access, around that same time period, remember Virginia Giuffre, her photo, the infamous photo of her, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Prince Andrew, it was seized, right, by the FBI. How did the FBI know that photo existed? Because think about this: Virginia had not come forward, right? It was not. She was not a public witness in this incident.
Why did the FBI want that photograph?
It wasn't obviously to do investigating, because they haven't gone after either Prince Andrew or Ghislaine.
They're not planning to indict Prince Andrew. That photograph no longer exists. I can assure you, it's disappeared. You'll never see that photograph. Because that's evidence. The FBI gets rid of evidence. Or they plant evidence on the people they want arrested. They get rid of evidence on the people they want to protect.
It's the Federal Bureau of Incineration.
Yeah. So we have the most clear admission at the highest levels of a news network that one of the major news networks in America deliberately covered up the biggest child sex trafficking scandal in the world. So, 2016, when Pizzagate was floating around because of the WikiLeaks emails. Oh boy, the media went berserk. Anybody that said Pizzagate, you had to be banned
Right.
You had to be laughed off planet Earth.
If you dare to suggest there was an international child sex ring
involving powerful, influential men.
that was just a crazy conspiracy at the time.
Yes. But what do we have now?
So is she peddling a conspiracy theory? She's Amy Robach. She believes that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. According to the mainstream media, that's a conspiracy theory, Rick.
Well, until a week or two ago, when Dr. Biden came out and said he was murdered. But I'm not particularly convinced that he's murdered. I think that's the conspiracy theory. It's the cover-up.
Well,
nobody going to look for Jeffrey Epstein right now.
Well, think on that. Now, after seeing this, what is the entire country going to be talking about? They're only going to be talking about Mr. Epstein being dead, being killed.
He's the murder of Jeffrey Epstein.
What I found,
not the disappearance of Jeffrey Epstein.
What I found slightly unusual about that video is that it was almost staged.
She was very candid, right? She's just talking casually about it.
So she's sitting at a news desk. You know, all fair. It would be like I'm sitting here.
It was on, from what I understand, it was on a break.
Yes.
So, and they're just casual talking and everything.
On a break.
Just talking about Jeffrey Epstein being murdered.
You're mic'd up. You're mic'd up. You're sitting at a news desk, and you know, and a network employee in the studio is over here saying, "Hey, what do you think about Jeffrey Epstein?" There was something about it that just slightly was odd. Because you would think that she would say, "Hey, I'll talk to you about it later." But she was just talking, you know, and you could hear this person kind of like asking leading questions.
And then you think about this, she's just talking about this so jokingly almost. She looks a little frustrated, but Rick, she's known this for 3-4 years potentially. She did the interview with Virginia Giuffre in 2015. So she had this story 4 years in her mind, and she didn't quit. She didn't try to leak it out. She just sat on it. She's a little frustrated, but come on. It seems a little ridiculous.
She knew that little girls were being raped by these powerful men, and she did nothing about it.
She slept fine for all appearances here. Her career carried on. She carried on doing stories for the Good Morning America show here. You think about that. Could you live with yourself knowing that torture, that barbarism was going on?
Her career meant more than those children.
Oh, Lord.
Well, now she's trying to walk it back. What did she say? She had a
moment of frustration.
A moment of frustration.
A private moment of frustration. I guess what we say now
in front of a camera and a microphone.
Can we use that too?
Private moment of frustration?
Can we say it was just the craziest thing and then just say, "Oh, sorry, I'm just having a private moment of frustration"?
Would there, and I don't know, would there be a reason that she deliberately recorded that private moment of frustration?
If you're trying to extend the story that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, that would be the perfect ploy for that. And so,
or is she putting pressure to get an investigation going?
She did mention
it's going to cost her job.
And that's true if they go the route of firing her. And it does show the appearance that a mainstream news outlet, an establishment news outlet, was actually investigating the Epstein crime. That would a lot of the news outlets would say this is an exoneration of us. We clearly put man hours into this, even though the story wasn't published. But if, let's say, she's using this as a strategic ploy, it does keep the story in the news cycle. I mean, the hashtag right, Epstein didn't kill himself. You know, the fact that he might have been murdered in the custody of the Department of Justice shakes the very framework of faith in the U.S. government.
Rick, I know you're not on social media very much, but right now, trending on various social media platforms is a meme out there. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. So it's showing up in images, pictures, short videos, or maybe somebody will be telling a story and you're drawn into it, and then the last line will be, "And by the way, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself." Mm-hmm. This is something that's been trending now for about, 2 weeks or so?
About 2 weeks, yes.
And and it's bothered me. It's really bugged me. Not that, of course, I question the whole narrative as well, but now I'm questioning why this is trending.
Well, remember Hillary Clinton.
Almost as if it's manufactured.
Remember Hillary Clinton was asked point blank.
Yeah, why did you kill Jeffrey Epstein.
How did you?
Right,
How did
this
you?
was all in it.
This is the woman that was afraid to do any interviews related to Epstein, let alone any sex scandals, the WikiLeaks emails, nothing. She was afraid to do that. Now she can go into a comedy show, a well-visited comedy show, and basically just joke about the subject.
I bet she wouldn't joke about Vince Foster.
I don't know. She might, Rick. She just might.
And most of the people watching those shows don't even know who Vince Foster was.
White House counsel.
As one of the dead bodies in the Clinton history that most people don't even know about.
Well, what's ABC's response have been to all this today?
Well, Doc, they're playing the role that, yes, we understand her frustration. We understand Amy's frustration. But she's just a little anchor woman, and we are big executives, and we have all this heavy responsibility on us.
Standards, ethics.
Yes, ABC News, we have standards, and we had to verify. We're still investigating her investigation. We're trying to verify the shocking claims that she made, and it's taking us longer than we thought.
Oh, like they verified the Syrian rocket attack here a couple of weeks ago. That actually took place on a Kentucky.
Well, that one got fast tracked.
Yeah, it was fast tracked.
That was national security. That had to get out, Doc.
Okay.
The Kentucky video that was passed off as Syrian attack.
That met
Kurds getting murdered.
That met ABC standards,
Yes.
but this didn't.
Yes.
Okay.
Standards of propaganda, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So ABC's, they're saying, we're with Amy here. I mean, they're not making an official statement. They're using their, informed sources inside ABC News trying to explain why this story hasn't been released yet. Well, gee, the whole world knows about Jeffrey Epstein now. Are you going to break the story now? So what's the excuse? Well, it's old news now.
Right.
Why release it? It's old news. Now you sat on it. Just like ABC News purchased the little black book of the D.C. Madam.
That's right.
And they told her, we'll give you this money for that black book that has all those names in it. And she sold the black book of her clientele to ABC News. And as soon as she got the money, she went and killed herself.
After saying she had no intentions to kill herself, was actually going to fight the lawsuit being brought
went and
against
hung
her,
herself.
the prosecution.
She didn't even spend the money ABC News gave her for the black book. She just went out and killed herself.
Hung herself.
Yes.
It's a
Isn't that weird?
photos of Deborah Palfrey.
It's a coincidence.
And then ABC News never published the black book.
To this day, you think if you had a black book, basically a record of not just the escorts, but also the politicians, the men of power. She mentioned there, many men of power went to the island. Men of power were clients of Deborah Palfrey. Yet ABC doesn't want to follow this up. You think this would be relatable in some way to the Epstein story, but that's not what they're in the business of doing.
No, they're not. Well, let's talk about who's at the top of the food chain at ABC News. His name is James Goldston, and he is a dual citizen of Great Britain and the United States. He's Jewish, and it's very difficult to find much of anything of his biography. He's done an excellent job of keeping his
name out of
his name and personal affairs and his life off the internet. There's no Wikipedia. There's nothing on his bio. Nothing about his family. Which, hey, I don't blame him. Yeah, he's in the news business, but you would think that somebody that has risen to the level of ABC News president would leave some digital trail out there. But it's very difficult to find anything about him.
But he does have friends in high places, doesn't he?
In low places. Yeah. He's got friends in low places, too. Let's talk about, he was at a dinner when President Trump went to Great Britain.
Yeah, a state visit to commemorate the anniversary of D-Day. It was in June they decided to go over. It's at the same time, actually, that Jared Kushner was meeting President Zelensky in Brussels. Mm-hmm. So this time he had a dinner with him and other royals, Prince Charles, Camilla, were at this dinner with President Trump and Mr. Goldstone, and the thing about the dinner, Rick, is that the photos, there's only one photo I could find on the internet that actually showed them together. But the core of it was, they claim now that it's come out, based on Ms. Roebuck's statements, that Buckingham Palace had applied pressure and potentially they might get an interview with a royal family member. The fact that he was at a dinner with the royal family at the invitation of the president and the English cabinet here, it raises the question, did it come up at the dinner that, hey, I'd like to now cash in on that favor that we may have secured by not running that embarrassing story?
Well, my question is, why would President Trump and or Queen Elizabeth invite the president of ABC News to sit at the head table with Her Majesty and the president?
Right. He wasn't just invited to the dinner. He sat with the president.
Next to Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yes. With Prince Charles, Queen Elizabeth at the
Queen Elizabeth wasn't at this dinner. There was two dinners. She was at the previous one.
Okay.
So the Queen wasn't at this one?
This one was actually at the U.S.-UK embassy. Right. The embassy basically run by Woody Johnson.
But at that level, though, I mean, you're sitting next to the president at a royal function, really, at a state function. Mm-hmm. So that shows at least a little bit of juice in your resume there.
Well, it says that President Trump likes him.
And other news executives.
That's what it says to me.
Pass his constant war against the media.
All of this Trump hates the media stuff. Behind the scenes, Donald Trump has the president of ABC News seated next to him at a state dinner in Great Britain. And this man happens to be the news executive who killed the Jeffrey Epstein story. Winky dink.
Another one.
Did the president lean over to the Queen and say, I got you covered. Don't worry about it. Your baby boy, Andrew, he's not gonna be exposed. Goldstein over here, he's taking care of it. He's killed the story. Is that what goes on behind the scenes?
Well, it's always boggled us. So actually, I've wondered this for quite some time. Wyatt Navy came out during the 2016 campaign. I mean, we were talking about it. Think of the Epstein scandal is nothing new to the media that actually bothers to look into these allegations. But the 2016 campaign, where it was a death match between two major candidates, President Trump's campaign actually avoided even using those allegations, though they were willing to bring up, for example, the abuse claims that Bill Clinton had against people like Juanita Broderick. But have you ever wondered, Rick, why they didn't even use the story? It was like a media blackout across the board. No one talked about Epstein in 2016.
No, nobody's going to talk about it. The story would have taken down both candidates.
Right.
Hillary Clinton's husband, Bill, was a buddy of Jeffrey Epstein.
Flown on Lolita Express reportedly had gone to this orgy island, the one that Amy Robach brought up.
But Donald Trump has an association with Jeffrey Epstein. That's how the game's played. That's how you make sure you've covered all your bases, because you have everybody compromised. Jeffrey Epstein probably got a pay bonus in his check that week from Les Wexner. Hey, you got both presidential candidates compromised. Good job. Good job. No matter who wins, we win. Zionism rules, baby. That's the way this game's played.
And if the reward check was on the night of the victory, Mr. Epstein, according to flight records, was actually flying from Paris to Riyadh. That's just the small thing. No one knows what he was doing there, but he landed in Riyadh on November 9th, 2016.
You know, one of the articles related to
this... He was going to check up his house, right, get his passport renewed.
Which passport?
Get the fireproof one. He needed the fireproof one.
So one of the articles related to that royal dinner that we were talking about earlier, this is from page 6. And basically, this is, just a social reading about what happened at the dinner. But I thought there was a line in there, and you brought it out earlier before we were getting ready for the Godcast today. And it had this line in there. So I need our viewers and listeners to understand this works both ways, both on the mainstream side, where you're left-leaning, and also on the right side. It says here, related to this dinner, a source told us that Newsmax CEO Chris Ruddy was also at that Trump dinner. This is kind of a passing line there.
With the president of ABC News.
Right.
Chris Ruddy, CEO, founder of Newsmax. Does anybody visit Newsmax.com?
I haven't in years. I don't think the only reason it keeps coming up.
All right, you're in your early 30s, have you ever heard anybody say, I go to Newsmax.com every day?
No, it's an afterthought. And again, the reason it comes up in conversation is Chris Ruddy injects himself as a Trump whisperer in a lot of these stories as sources.
The reason I'm asking is that because back in the 90s, okay, so Alex Jones, InfoWars, Chris Ruddy, Newsmax, Joseph Farah, WorldNet Daily, and Rick Wiles. We all started basically at the same time. Okay. Now, I don't know anybody that takes Newsmax seriously or WorldNet Daily seriously. At one time they had a following, but they faded away, and how they continue to exist baffles me. I'm totally baffled by it because I don't know anybody that thinks about them. Do you go to Newsmax?
I can't remember the last time I was on the Newsmax.
WorldNet Daily?
I occasionally go to WorldNet Daily.
Do you?
So, yeah, occasionally. So, but it's getting rarer and rarer now because I can't even trust that as a source anymore. And so,
yeah, they're totally Zionists.
So, yeah, that's the only reason why is to check up on whether the Zionist meter is pegging out at a 9 or a 10 that day. And so,
well, Newsmax. I mean, back in the beginning of True News, I took Newsmax seriously as a conservative news website, and until I found out that Chris Ruddy was playing golf with Bill Clinton in West Palm Beach, and I go, wait a minute. Newsmax was part of the great right-wing conspiracy that Hillary Clinton used to talk about.
right.
She'd talk about the right-wing conspiracy, and Newsmax was at the center of it. And I find out Chris Ruddy was playing golf with Bill Clinton in West Palm Beach.
I'm just thinking of the time period. You're talking about the Monica Lewinsky scandal. You're talking about the mega spy scandal in the White House.
This whole thing of conservative media, alt-right, is all a hoax.
A circus
It's all a
show.
hoax. It's all a big hoax. They're all together. They're all getting funding. They're all being kept going to keep this image that they're opposition media. It's all a big joke.
And then when an organization like ours or others that are outspoken about truth, they do everything in their power to shut down our voices and cut free speech, cut our legs out from underneath us by denying us access to platforms, by throwing names out at us, labeling us, putting all sorts of monikers on us, just trying to stifle our voice.
But isn't it interesting that Chris Ruddy is there at this state event in Great Britain with the president of ABC News, with President Trump, with Prince Charles? I mean, it's obvious that President Trump has invited both of them. He invited Chris Ruddy of Newsmax, and he invited Goldston of ABC News. So when Donald Trump talks about the fake media, and at the rally he tells these people, turn around and boo those people, he's having dinner with their executives.
Think about that.
You hear what I said, Trumpers? He's having dinner with the news executives. It's all show. This is a reality show. That's all this is. I don't care if you're the left or the right. We're all being played for fools. It's all reality show.
Can we change the channel?
Yeah, it's a really bad channel. I'd like to turn it off permanently. It's a bad movie.
What do you think is going to be the fallout of this Project Veritas video, Rick?
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
Well, did Planned Parenthood shut down when they were revealed selling baby parts, cutting out baby brains and kidneys? Were they shut down?
No, they're making more money than ever before.
That's right. They were smeared. They were slandered. Yeah. They had laws passed against them. Some of their people got arrested.
Even the Project Veritas videos that we had a couple weeks ago exposing CNN at the very top in their meetings and how they planned out suppression of news. Nothing happened. Nothing changed. CNN's still there. CNN's still suppressing news. CNN is still doing the same thing it's always done. So I understand. Are you having a moment of frustration, Rick, right now?
No, I have this every day. Every day I come out here and have to deal with this.
You have an hour of frustration.
I do. It's just like the Bible says, don't fret over evildoers. They're evildoers.
That's what they do.
Someday they're going to burn in the lake of fire if they don't repent. The sad thing is they do great damage to others. And like Jeffrey Epstein, he destroyed the lives of thousands of little girls.
Tortured.
Thousands of girls. And he started recruiting them at age 13. I don't, what I want to call him is not nice, okay? It's not a nice term. That guy is filth, and every man that was with him, human scum. What they did to those girls, but Amy, what was her name?
Amy Robach.
Robach. Okay, she knew about it.
But she kept climbing that career ladder.
That's right. She didn't want to rock the boat at ABC News. She knew about it. A lot of people knew about it. People that worked at Epstein's plantations. They're child plantations. He had little child slaves there. Isn't that what they were?
That's exactly.
Child slaves. They were on the plantation. IT contractors and lawn care contractors and
maintenance workers.
They all knew that children were being raped. They all knew it.
As long as the check cleared every Friday.
But it paid well, Rick.
Yes. Government officials knew about it. You know, they said everybody in the Virgin Islands knew that Epstein's island was called Pedo Island. They had a nickname for the plane, Lolita Express. Nobody did anything. The FBI knew about it. Justice Department knew about it. Nothing was done. Why? Because it was being run at the highest levels of Zionism. That's why. At the highest levels of Zionism. To compromise the political and business leadership of the United States of America so that these men would be blackmailed and would forever be subservient to the Zionists in Israel and New York. Okay, that's the reason. And that's the reason nobody will touch this story.
Just like they let the story about Israel spying on the whole of D.C. through the stingrays just slip through our hands. We've completely forgotten about the spying. And in relation to Mr. Epstein, why does no one remember? He literally, the Labor Secretary said he belonged to intelligence. There's been other now corroborating sources that come forward from Israeli intelligence say, yes, he was one of ours. Why can't we have a discussion about Mr. Epstein working for Mossad, trapping individuals in honeypot schemes to basically corrupt and manipulate the foreign policy of the United States for the last 30 years?
Because that would be a conspiracy theory, wouldn't it?
And you'd be anti-Semitic and even suggesting.
Yes.
So there, once again, is your speech is being suppressed because you're making the connection between Jeffrey Epstein's behavior and his beliefs. Well, my behavior is based on my beliefs. I mean, that's what the conclusions that you draw based on what I do. That tells you what I believe. What I believe, I do. What Jeffrey Epstein believed, he did. And, assuming that he was an agent of Mossad or a tool of Mossad, one way or another, you see how he behaved. You see the results. You see the damage they left behind in his wake. And so in this sense, Rick, even speaking out, making the connection, just even saying, well, Jeffrey Epstein, he was Jewish. Well, that's anti-Semitic for me to say it. Because I'm making a connection. I'm blaming him for his behavior on his Jewishness, which isn't what I'm saying.
Doc, if Jeffrey Epstein was Arab and he was a Muslim and his lawyers were Muslims and they were Arab Muslim lawyers.
Right.
And the man above him that gave him the mansions was a billionaire Muslim Arab. And this had the appearance of being an Arab intelligence operation to ensnare American leaders to compromise them on behalf of an Arab nation. Could you say that he was Arab and Muslim?
We might go to war over it.
Could you say it?
You could say it. Sure, you could say it.
Well, what's different?
In my mind, there's no difference. But in the minds of, of so many people out there, you can't touch this topic of...
What if they were all Hindus?
Same thing, Rick. What
You can talk about it?
What if they were all Buddhist? I mean, it's the same thing.
If everybody in this sex scandal was Buddhist, could you say, hey, this seems to be a Buddhist-connected sex scandal involving trafficking of little girls? Would that be all right?
Sure, you could say that.
And if you were a law enforcement officer, you would pursue that line of investigation.
And you'd be asking questions such as, is there something within Buddhist thought that allows this kind of behavior to continue and to go on and get reinforced? You would ask those questions, right?
Yes. So could you ask, is there something in the Talmud that would permit raping children? I would ask that if I were a law enforcement officer. But you see, it's off limits. So you have intelligent people in this country knowing that children were raped for the benefit of an intelligence agency who will not talk about it because their minds have been captured by the very organization that is doing this to the children. Their minds have been captured. I mean, Amy Robach mentioned a lawyer, an attorney. Who was that?
Alan Dershowitz.
Of course it's Alan Dershowitz. So she knows something about Alan Dershowitz. But he's Chabad Lubavitch.
Zionist through and through, by his own words.
Oh, and he's not just Chabad Lubavitch. He's an evangelist.
Yes.
A lot of our, I wish we would have pulled up this video today. I forgot all about it in preparation. But remember the video here a few months ago where we saw Alan Dershowitz speaking, I think it was at Harvard, and they were dedicating the new Chabad Center on campus. Mm-hmm. And he said, it's our goal to put a Chabad Center on every campus in North America.
Yes.
Every campus in North America. And basically he's saying we're putting an outpost on every campus.
He's an evangelist for Kabbalah.
Yes.
And he's more excited about Kabbalah than a lot of Christians are about Jesus Christ. He's out there doing it. And they're changing the country. While the Christians sit back and twiddle their thumbs. By the way, I got to say this. I think we're back on YouTube.
Yes, we're back on YouTube today.
So I just got something I got to say. I got to get off my chest, okay? So we noticed during our week of banishment from YouTube.
Our time out in the corner.
Yeah. We had a significant rise in visits to our website.
Yes.
But not the same amount of people who were watching us every day on YouTube.
Right.
So that tells me that a substantial number of people who watch us on YouTube don't have enough common sense to navigate the internet to find us at Trunews.com. You complain about censorship. You complain about Zionist control of everything, and yet they control you. They control your mind. You can't even get out of YouTube. You can't box your way out of YouTube. I mean, it shows me. That was a revelation to me. That they can't even find their way out of YouTube. They're living in a YouTube universe. Well, what happened to True News? It's gone. It must have left the whole universe. It's gone. It's not on the planet anymore. No, what you do is you use your fingers and you type in Trunews.com.
What puzzled me about this week, Rick, is that
Scary, Doc. It's scary.
we got emails from people.
Yeah.
We even got phone calls here at the office.
They can find our phone number, but they can't find us on the internet.
They probably got the phone number from our website.
Hey, do you know that you guys are off YouTube? Yeah, yes, we know. We keep up on things like this. And so, are you guys permanently banned? Well, if you watched the program, you would know. Watch the Godcast, you would know. We told you we're going to be off for a few days.
These people don't understand. They don't even realize that their minds have been captured by the Zionists. They're trapped inside the YouTube universe, and if something's taken off YouTube,
then it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist anymore in their world. That's scary. And I'm like, why am I putting my life on the line for people that don't have enough sense and initiative
to get off the reservation?
To get off their reservation.
Well, and at this point, think of this. There's no one with weapons pointed at them, both their mind and in digital universe and in physical. But in the future, there could be. Right now, it's free for them to literally leave this ghetto of basically censorship. But they're willing participants, volunteers, actually, on the reservation.
So if you're one of those people and you found us again today on YouTube and you can't figure out where we were at for a week, okay.
We were still here.
We were still here.
Every day.
We put out a newscast every day, and you weren't even aware of it. All right, this is what you need to do. You got to leave the YouTube plantation. Pack up and get off the plantation. There's the internet. It's a big thing. It's really big. It's got a lot of. They're called websites, and it's awesome. It's just awesome, all right? And what you do is you type into your browser trunews.com. That's how you do it.
And it takes you to a website?
It takes you to a website. Or you could download what is called an app.
Oh, I've heard about those.
Yes, you can download an app.
Use on your phone. So.
But you don't have to be a slave on the YouTube plantation. You don't... You gripe and you complain about them censoring, and then you stay there. That's stupid. It's just stupid.
I think part of it is it's the lack of focus, too. I think a lot of people love watching on YouTube because they can do other things while they're watching the show. They're not really paying attention.
Well, you can watch it on...
They'll play games. They'll try to chat. They'll pay attention to what we're saying.
I watch Trunews while eating dinner at night.
I mean, what I'm saying is
you can't do it on a website. You can't do it on an app.
What we're saying half the time, they're sitting there talking. Some of them will use YouTube because of that. They can sit in the chat, have their own conversation, completely devoid of what we're having a basic discussion.
You can do the same thing on our website. Yes. No, I mean that's the confusion. I'm telling you right now.
One of the reasons I don't want to put chat on our website, because we almost did it, because I saw what people were doing on YouTube with chat. They weren't listening to what we were talking about. They were chatting among themselves while we're here working. We're here working, trying to help you, and the people in the chat weren't even paying attention to what we were saying. I thought, I'm not going to feed into that stupidity. Why would I encourage that kind of behavior?
Right.
Social media is making you dumb.
Right.
It's making you dumb. Don't let them do it to you. You have a brain. God gave you a brain. Use it. Think.
There's coming a day where we won't be on YouTube anymore. There's coming a day we won't be here, but it won't be because we were banned. It's because we left.
Yeah, because I don't want to be there. All right? I honestly don't. I don't like social media. Yeah, I just don't like them.
But for now, it's our megaphone. But there's coming a day.
I'm there because it's free. It's free bandwidth.
Right.
It's as simple as that. Look. Our bandwidth, I pay, out of my pocket, this ministry, our bandwidth bill is about $15,000 a month.
Right.
Okay. How would you like to have an internet access bill from Comcast or AT&T or Verizon? $15,000 a month. That's what we're paying. Why do we pay that? So you can go to our website and our app. All right.
Watch our content.
We're paying the bandwidth. People go, why do you guys ask for money? Our bandwidth bill is $15,000 a month, and it's going up. And we have to make one-year commitments, and we're already maxed out, which means we're going to have to bump it up to probably $20,000 for 2020. All right? That means we're on the hook for $240,000. $250,000. I'm on the hook. I got to sign a contract with my name. I got to sign it.
And we do this so we can basically broadcast censor-free content. We can talk about topics which you won't ever hear the news outlets talking about, the ones that are killing stories.
So the reason I do YouTube is that it's free bandwidth. Not because I like YouTube. I think it's a horrible company. I'm using them for their free bandwidth. That's the only reason. It saved me money.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. If we have to bump up the bandwidth, we have to do it, okay? But that's the only reason we've been on YouTube for about 2 years, is save money on bandwidth. I don't like the company. I don't like dealing with them. I just don't like them at all, okay? The sooner I can get away from them, the better. So, but what worries me is that the people out there, tens of thousands of you watching, and you don't know how to get off of YouTube. My gosh, they got you controlled. They've captured your mind. They've dumbed you down to the point you can't even navigate yourself off of a social media platform to go find information. I don't know what to do with people like that. How do you get dressed? Who feeds you? How do you function? How do you function during the day? Really, Doc, am I saying too much?
No,
are you looking at me like...
No, I'm right. trying to keep from laughing out loud.
Right.
And so I'm just like...
do you all know we're in a battle?
That's right.
We're in warfare. You and me, we're in warfare. All right, you better start acting like you're in a war with people that want to destroy you.
Kill you.
They literally do. All right, so hey, let's go talking about the control of the mind. All right, we're going to take about 15 minutes. And we're going to show you some examples. This is all new stuff, the past week, of how our minds are being controlled because there's a global war right now, global propaganda campaign to attack free speech, to shut down free speech, to ban free speech. Look, free speech is one of the hallmarks of America. We, as a people, we have the right to speak, to say whatever we want to say. But now in America, there are powerful people and organizations who are saying, no, we're going to ban you. That's why we were just talking about with YouTube, all right? And other social media organizations and big tech corporations and powerful organizations like the ADL, which is funded by B'nai B'rith, which is the biggest Jewish Freemason lodge in the world. Let's name it what it is. ADL, B'nai B'rith, Freemasonry. Every time you see ADL slam me, you think Freemasonry. Because that's all this is, Jewish Freemasonry. That's why they're coming after us. It's about Jesus Christ and Lucifer. Okay, that's what this battle's about.
Real battle.
It's Jesus Christ versus Lucifer. That's why they're coming after me. So they're shutting down anybody that criticizes the synagogue of Satan. Jesus told us that in the last days we're going to face the synagogue of Satan. The early church faced it. We're going to face it. We're facing it right now. Let's get real. It's here. It's here. It's rising up, and it's bearing its teeth at the real Christians. You got a bunch of fake Christians who are in bed with them, and they're coming after the real Christians.
They want to edit the Bible.
This thing's good. Yes, they even want to edit the Bible. They even want to mess with the Word of God. These people won't stop. They want to control free speech. So we're going to put up some stories here. Let's go with. All right. So the Guardian, number 3. This is the Guardian in London. And this is interesting that the Guardian, which is it's old red.
Communist news outlet in
its
England.
nickname in London is Old Red. And it's an old leftist communist newspaper. But it's good. I read the Guardian. I've read it for 20-some years, See, I'm open. I read a lot of stuff. I read across the board.
You read.
You
Read. Actually, read.
Yes. Past the headlines.
Read.
Not just, receive information.
And I go past the headline.
Yes.
And I think, I process, and I connect dots because my brain's still functioning. But The Guardian, let's put it back up there, revealed right-wing push to ban criticism of Israel on U.S. campuses. The Guardian got this right. The Guardian got it right.
Yes.
The left-wing Guardian got this story right. In America, the group that's trying to ban free speech on U.S. campuses
Get ready.
is the conservative right wing.
You might want to say that again, Rick.
The conservative right wing, which is a major part of the Trump campaign and the Republican Party and the evangelical Zionists.
They are trying to limit free speech on college campuses around the country.
Yes.
It's not the leftists doing this.
Well, the left is trying to do it for other purposes.
Right.
But when it comes to, if you're talking about Israel or Zionism, it's the right that's trying to shut down free speech.
And in a lot of cases, these figures on the right are the very thing that they're warning against. Anti-Semitic, they're using the same terms as neo-Nazis.
All right.
Okay?
All right. Can I read a paragraph here?
Do it. Go for it.
So I'm going to read this paragraph. This is from the Guardian. So it says, pro-Israel and conservative lobbyists are encouraging state lawmakers to outlaw anti-Semitism in public education from kindergarten through to graduate universities. All right, so
say this again, Doc.
All right, so pro-Israel, you just swallowed your drink down the wrong way.
So all the cap of the bottle.
Pro-Israel and conservative lobbyists are encouraging state lawmakers to outlaw anti-Semitism in public education from kindergarten through to graduate universities. Those kindergartners are known for their anti-Semitic behavior, Rick.
It's called indoctrination, Doc.
Yes.
What this really means is that we're going to start indoctrinating children in kindergarten to be pro-Zionist.
Yes.
That's what they just said.
Yes.
And it's the religious right and the Trump campaign and the Republican Party. That's who's behind this movement.
And they're pushing it so far as you will not be able to do any kind of business with the state and federal government. Here in Florida, in May, actually, we passed the first state-level bill, which was supposed to address, quote-unquote, anti-Semitism. But at this point, if you are affiliated in any form with, let's say, going as far as criticizing Israel, maybe with their foreign policy, maybe for the treatment of the Palestinians, they'll claim you're part of the BDS movement, and you won't be able to get a government contract with the state of Florida. Well, in this, the group that you're mentioning here is called the American Legislative Exchange Council. Yes. What the Guardian was able to do is they got emails basically leaked about meetings this group basically had organized with other right-wing, I hate to even use their term, Republican officials, conservatives, evangelical Zionists. And they referred to this group, the Guardian, they called them a bill mill. And what this is that it wasn't the state-level legislators in Florida, the ones we vote for, Rick, that wrote that bill out of just concern for the Florida constituents.
They write bills and they find a stooge in each state legislature to introduce it.
It goes even better than that, Rick. Groups like ALEC out there, ALEC, they go out and have symposiums in different states, and they invite lawmakers in, and they wine and dine them. They give them a good steak dinner and everything, and then they have a presentation. Look, there's a problem out here, right? Maybe they didn't know there was a problem before. But look, we're going to tell you about the problem. Here's the problem that we're having. And we can solve this problem. In fact, we've got the bill already written for you.
Yes.
And put it right there. It's in your packet right there next to your steak and shrimp there. Or it can't have shrimp there. But you can have your steak and baked potato, and then you can have your bill there, and then you can take it back to your state legislature.
All the work's done for you.
That's right. You don't just
you get the headlines.
You fill in the blank.
You're the hero now.
And now you become, and you get the endorsement from all the different organizations. And we've seen this in South Carolina, Texas, now here in Florida, where in
Kansas, North Carolina.
In the school system here in Florida, you cannot, and how they define anti-Semitic comments, that's going to be based upon the player in the game, right? Because what one person says is anti-Semitic is not anti-Semitic to someone else. And so the rules are going to constantly change on this. And this is the beauty of this, Rick. They can outlaw something and then change the field markers later on.
Hey, I just want to go on the record. I am pro-Semitic people. I stand with the Palestinian people. They are Semitic. They are true Semitic people, and I am pro-Semitic. I've never said an anti-Palestinian thing ever, have I?
I haven't heard one.
So
And the Palestinians
they are Semitic people.
And there's people that may be shooting Palestinian children in the head and the knees now, right? The knees.
But would
they be considered anti-Semitic?
Yes, because they're not Semitic people that are shooting the Palestinians.
That's
They're
right.
Eastern
They're European Ashkenazis.
And they're against the Semitic people.
Yes, they're waging war on the Semitic people of Palestine.
But we can't say that in a public school, Rick, because that would be anti-Semitic, right?
Yes, that would be truth. But the people have been indoctrinated to believe lies.
Well, Rick, I wonder, this man right here, one of the men that was basically instrumental in getting the bill here in Florida passed in May for Governor DeSantis, the man who held his first basically foreign cabinet meeting over in Jerusalem. Randy Fine is mentioned in this Guardian article. I thought it was interesting here because he also has been labeled as someone who actually called a local Jewish constituent a Judenrat, because the man had attended a forum titled Palestine, Israel, opening the dialogue. Now, the Guardian noted here that, again, Judenrat is a term that the Nazi mandated councils in Jewish ghettos used during the Second World War and has been used to refer to Jews who collaborated with the Nazis. The man who was instrumental in the bill here in Florida.
Is he a legislator?
It appears to be a Republican. I'd say that the way it's referred to this article, yes, I'd say he's a legislator.
And he called a Floridian citizen
a Floridian citizen,
Judenrat?
A Judenrat.
A Jewish voter here in Florida.
A collaborator with the Nazis. This is what he called that man.
And the person is Jewish. The person was Jewish.
Yes.
And he made a pro-Palestinian statement.
And it was a consistency. Yes, he is a lawmaker. He is a state-level lawmaker in this state.
See, the Zionists are the new Nazis. I want to go on record. Zionism is the new Nazism.
They're doing more than getting Mauser pistols from Hitler.
Yes.
They're actually using the mindset now of the Nazis.
Absolutely. It's the new Nazism. So what they're doing by banning free speech, if you criticize the Zionist movement, this would be like in the 1930s or the 40s, if you spoke out against Nazism, you would be accused of anti-Germanic statements. You're against Germans. No, I'm not against Germans. I'm against Nazis. Oh, well, anti-Nazi and anti-German are synonymous. You're a racist. You spoke against Nazism. That means you're against all German people. No, that's not true. I'm against Nazism. No, you're against the German people. See, this is the mindset that they've made.
Right.
It has nothing to do about Jewish people. I get a wonderful message the other day from a Jewish man who's telling me, you guys got it. You know, those guys over there in Israel are causing trouble for the Jews. They're causing trouble for the real Jews. All right? They're Zionists. They are committed to a cause, Zionism. They're really communists. They're communists pretending to be Jews. But it's a communist movement.
And the founding fathers of Zionism, Ben Gurion, they named an airport after this man. Yes. He started a communist workers' party, a union, a militia group, really, in Poland. All right, before he immigrated, basically, to Israel.
The Labor Party in Israel came from the Communist Party.
And they still have socialism in Israel. That's the other thing that's so crazy. We subsidize socialism.
Well, Doc and I saw you were there when we came through the Tel Aviv airport. The murals painted on the wall. They had the Soviet
hammer and
sickle painted on the wall.
Proud of it.
Yes, it's a communist country because Zionism is communism. That's why they're locking down free speech.
Yes.
People can't figure this out. It's a communist revolution inside America, but this thing is to go global. They're trying to take this thing global. It's global occupation. I said this in Bethlehem when we were invited to dinner with the wonderful ambassador who got kicked out of the United States.
Zumwalt.
Yes, and I said at the dinner table, we were talking about the occupation, the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian people, and I said, they're going to globalize the occupation. And I saw the look on the Palestinian faces, and it caught them by surprise. They hadn't thought about it.
That all the things they've done,
everything that they're doing to you, they're testing it on you. They're going to do this to everybody. But they're not going to put physical walls up. They're putting mental walls up. You can't go here. You can't say this. You can't think this.
Or digital walls.
These are digital walls. They're putting us in digital ghettos. Well, I'm not going to stay in one. I'll break out. Okay? I'm not going to be in a digital. And those of you who can't get out of YouTube, you're in a digital ghetto. That's all you are. You've been put in a Zionist digital ghetto, and you don't know how to get out. All right? There'll be a day you can't get out, because your mind's almost gone. They've so watered down your thinking process that you can't even figure out how to find something else on the internet.
And this thinking has gone bone deep, Rick. I mean, we've got a couple videos here I want to share with folks. These are some of the leading conservative folks out there. And you see this trend is happening in a big, big way, that if any of these leading quote conservative voices out there, if they're ever even questioned about the activities of Israel or the activities of Zionism at all, they shut it down. They don't want to even have a discussion about it. They don't want to have any kind of dialogue about it at all. They just, because it'll impact their meal ticket, basically.
They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them.
So we've got a couple of the conservative heroes today. We've got some videos for, everybody, Representative Dan Crenshaw. And that's another one. You can't criticize Dan Crenshaw, right?
He's a Navy SEAL. He's got a warranty.
He's got an eye patch. You can't criticize a guy with an eye patch. You can't do that, right?
I can.
So
when I saw him at AIPAC,
yes,
march out on the stage like a prostitute
and read his lines.
He read the lines that AIPAC read for him. An elected member of the United States Congress standing there like a prostitute. The only thing he didn't have was a dancing pole. If he had a pole, all right, that's about it.
Yeah, we would have called it the red light district of politics, but actually AIPAC's using blue lights that year.
But he stood there. It was embarrassing. I was shocked. It wasn't just him. They brought out a whole bunch of congressmen, and they all read lines that had been written for them, and he was one of them. And I was just stunned. I thought, dear God, Dan Crenshaw, that didn't last long. I thought he might turn out to be a good congressman. But within months, he had already been bought off.
Right.
And most likely, that's the reason he got there.
Right. Well,
so
we have video of a recent event that he was represented at, and he was questioned about some of the activities of Zionism, and this was his response. Let's watch this. This is cut number 4 for us.
Congressman, just this year, after a 2017 version of the law was blocked by a federal judge, Texas passed a law that still requires certain contractors to sign a pledge that they will not boycott Israel. The state of Florida has also passed a law outlawing the mere criticism of Israel. Representative Crenshaw, on May 9th of this year, similar legislation was even attempted at the federal level when the House Appropriations Committee sought to amend a routine government funding bill to allow federal agencies to compel contractors to promise not to boycott Israel as a requirement of maintaining their relationship with the U.S. government. Congressman, in spite of our unique and historic alliance, these laws are obvious, flagrant, and troubling violations of the First Amendment and free speech. Given that when you entered office, you swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, my question is this: will you honor your oath and denounce these laws here, now, and forever, or do you agree with Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott that the First Amendment should only apply to Americans who support Israel?
You're advocating for the First Amendment, or at least you're cloaking yourself in the First Amendment.
I wouldn't presume my intentions. I wouldn't presume my intentions.
I will presume your intentions. I will. Because I know who you guys are. And here's the problem with the BDS movement. When you create a movement,
I'm not advocating for the BDS
movement, divest and sanction the one Jewish state just because they are the one Jewish state, there is a deep problem with that. That is anti-Semitism manifested.
It's your right as an American.
That was embarrassing.
So the congressman from Texas will defend Israel and Zionism against his own citizens. He would take away the right of free speech of Americans as a member of Congress in order to placate his masters in Zionism. Because if you criticize Israel, he said, you're anti-Semitic. Well, the people that moved to Palestine and stole the land from the Semitic people are not Semitic. The Palestinians are Semitic. This is the great hoax. Once people can you break through this propaganda and realize the Palestinians are Semitic? The Israelis are not Israelis, they're European Ashkenazis. They moved there with no history at all in their personal family lineage, where they could prove that, hey, my grandfather had this farm, 100 years ago. They had no record at all. There's Europeans who showed up and said, we've got guns and we're taking the land.
And that's exactly what happened.
And that's what they did. They used bombs and guns, and they killed Arabs.
And
they
British soldiers during World War II.
And they stole the land. And then they said, if you criticize us, we'll call you anti-Semitic. But the Palestinians are the Semitic people. See, this is like the Mad Hatter. We're living in Alice in Wonderland.
Well, the gaslighting, so every time they force us to even say the word, their terminology, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic,
yes.
It's a gaslighting on the public.
So this is why you have to teach the public it's the Palestinians who are Semitic. So what do they come back and say? I'm talking about the Zionists. There are no such thing as Palestinian people.
The maps are just wrong for all of history.
Who have you
the history books are wrong.
Well, who have you been killing? Who are these people you're killing if they're not Palestinians?
What people? They're not here anymore. And that's the plan the whole time.
That's right. Which is a Nazi plan, the final solution. The eradication of the Palestinian people so that there's not one Palestinian human left alive. That's the plan.
Like the Nazis, they turned the Jews and the ghettos and various cities in Germany to second-class citizens. What are the Palestinians right now in Israel?
Fourth class.
Fourth class, fifth class. They can't vote. They have rights. They reportedly...
Ben-Gurion said we view them as donkeys.
Yes, that's right.
One of the projects that we're working on...
We're going to talk about anti-Semitic. The Zionist Jews are the most anti-Semitic people on the face of the earth. And if Chucky Schumer were standing here, I'd tell him to his face, anybody from the ADL, you are the most anti-Semitic people on the earth and the biggest liars because you're not Semitic. The Palestinians are Semitic and you're killing them. And you know that they are the Semitic people. You know their history and you know that you're an imposter. Somebody needs to have the guts, the backbone to tell these people. I just did. Watch what happens. I'm back on YouTube one day.
Who
cares?
One of the projects we've been working on here for several months that Matt Scow's been working on is our USS Liberty documentary. And in fact, he's traveling this week, gathering more information, more interviews to add. And the information he's gathering is stunning.
It's changed history.
So, but saying all that to, even bringing up the topic of the USS Liberty in a public forum is considered anti-Semitic now. You can't even question the historicity of that event.
That Israel killed 34 Americans on the USS Liberty, and if you say it, you're anti-Semitic.
Right.
I'd say they were anti-American.
Right. Definitely, as they shot the flag, too.
Do you want to set up this clip?
Yeah, so Turning Point USA, it's a conservative movement. It's an organization in the country. I say conservative. I can't do it with both my hands, Rick. Just one of them here.
You only need one quote.
Yeah, I don't need one of them for that.
You got neocons and neo-libs, and they're both funded by Zionists.
Yes, actually, the founder, Charlie Cook, is doing some research on this week. He actually voted for Obama. I don't know how he voted because he would have been in high school at the time, but he claims as such, and he supported him when he first came out, basically, as a commentator on Fox News in 2012. But anyway, this man is doing a tour around the country. He's got Donald Trump Jr. at his side, Donald Trump Jr.'s girlfriend now, Fox News commentator Kimberly Guilfoyle. And they're basically doing this, they're trying to make conservatism cool again. It's called the Culture War Tour.
It's all fake.
It's propaganda. It's
Total
pure propaganda.
Fake. what is this thing called? The America Turning Point USA. Turning Point USA. Let me tell you, the big money man behind it, from what I know, is Marcus, the billionaire founder of Home Depot, Jewish businessman. That's where the money's coming from. Okay, I don't care which side you're talking about, left, right, doesn't matter. It's the same players, the same funders, the same financiers, the same puppet masters.
A different wing of the same bird.
And we're stuck in a Hegelian matrix. And you got to break free of it. You got to get your mind out of it and be a free, independent human being.
Well, there appears to be a movement of independent, basically Zoomers, they're called, Generation Z conservatives who are Christian. Zoomers is the way they're referring to them. And hey, if they're believers in Jesus Christ, God bless them. But they are confronting Charlie Kirk, and they're basically getting in line to ask questions to him at his events. And one such event held just here in October on the 22nd at Colorado State University. The subject of the USS Liberty was brought up to not just Charlie Kirk, but also Don Trump Jr. sitting on stage.
Oh, these Zoomers must be watching Trunews.
Doesn't that warm your heart?
It does. It does. Because I don't know anybody else that's talking about the USS Liberty. I don't know anybody else that's making a movie. All right? We're the ones that are at the forefront of reminding the American people of what the Zionists did to Americans in 1967 to establish that Zionist state, to take the West Bank, to take Gaza, to take East Jerusalem. I'm going to tell you something. There's a little tidbit. This is in my book, okay? Some of you, if you're on our donor list, you got a letter from me and you know about the book. And but one of the things was that there is a Masonic lodge under the Temple Mount.
This is a historical fact.
There's a Masonic lodge under the Temple Mount. I have a feeling that when they took the president of Brazil underground,
and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo,
they were going to. I'd like to find out if it's Zedekiah's Cave, which is Solomon's Quarry. The two names, Solomon's Quarry or Zedekiah's Cave. Zedekiah hid there, Doc, when it was his escape route.
Right.
And Zedekiah was smart enough to have a tunnel that had two ends. It wasn't like al-Baghdadi. He had an escape tunnel that didn't have an exit.
Al-Baghdadi dummy, especially.
Yeah. If you believe that story, the propaganda story.
I got a bridge to sell you in Arizona.
So anyhow, Zedekiah, he went through that tunnel. It was a cave system, okay? And that was his escape route. And so there's but spring water that drops down in the cave, and it's called Zedekiah's Tears. Okay, but old Zedekiah, when he got to the exit of the cave, the Babylonian soldiers were waiting on him. All right, but anyhow, the Masons have been using that cave for their rituals. Okay. And several times a year, there's a Masonic ritual under the Temple Mount. Okay, so I know what I wanted to tell you. So when the Arabs took control, all right, when they had the fight, 1948. 1948, the Arabs stopped the Masons from holding the rituals.
Said you can't come in here anymore. You can't do these satanic
They knew what they were
rituals.
doing. They knew it was Kabbalah. The Arabs knew, hey, they're doing Kabbalah rituals under the Temple Mount. And so from 1948 to 1967, there were no Masonic rituals there. But as soon as the Jews got control of East Jerusalem, they immediately started the Masonic Kabbalah rituals under the Temple Mount again. And they're still going on today. So that's just a little tidbit. It's in the book that I wrote, and you can get a copy of the book. I'm going to announce it next week for everybody. But if you go to Trunews.com, if you're on, of course, the people with YouTube won't know how to find it.
Right. Unless you tell them the website, maybe.
It's Trunews, TRUNEWS.com. Yeah. If you go there, you might find my book. Okay. But anyhow, the book will be out.
So we were going to watch Charlie
January.
Kirk.
Okay, let's go back to Charlie Kirk. I went on the side route there because I was thinking about how the difference between the Arabs and the Zionists. The Arabs shut down the Masonic rituals. As soon as the Zionists got control of Jerusalem in 1967, they started the Masonic rituals again. So all you evangelical Zionists out there, do you understand that you're propping up a Masonic religion? You're propping up Kabbalah Freemasonry. That's what you're supporting. You put that Star of David up, that's just an old witchcraft symbol.
The faith of the devil.
Yes.
Madame Blavatsky's symbol was the Star of David. She was the queen of witchcraft in the 19th century. I should go on and on. So, all you evangelical Zionists, you got that Star of David up? Why don't you just go ahead and say you love the devil? Because you're worshiping Lucifer. You're part of your mind has been captured. You got a Star of David in your church. Wearing it around your neck.
On your lapel.
Yeah, you got a demonic symbol. And you're telling the world that your mind has been captured by Lucifer, but you're into it, all right. I don't know if there's any evangelical Zionists still
they're still watching. They're still checking in.
They're in a state of shock that somebody's actually saying this stuff, because for the past 50 years in America, they've captured the churches, captured the minds of the churches, and then we came along with a sledgehammer and started knocking down the wall. All right, so let's go back to,
anyway,
what's this guy's name? Charlie Kirk.
Right. So
on the Turning Point.
On the conservative right, we have our own idols. We have our own people that we worship and everything in our Parthenon of gods. Charlie Kirk is in there.
He is?
Yeah, he's the head of Turning Point USA.
On up and coming.
So it's a youth movement within, within the conservative movement and everything, heavily supportive of Donald Trump. But watch what happens here, Rick.
Hitler had a youth movement too.
Watch what happens here as the leaders on the platform are questioned about the USS Liberty, something that we have a great deal of passion about.
All right.
So let's watch this.
From America First perspective, why do we give $3.8 billion to Israel, which is more aid than we've given to Africa, more aid than we've given to South America, and more aid than we've given to the Caribbean combined, which is home to 1 billion poor people, especially when they deliberately attacked the USS Liberty in the 1970s?
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event. That is not acceptable. Do not say that.
Okay, Dean Rusk disagrees with you, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, but that's fine. And then the second part is also, you have the Apollo incident in which they illegally stole weapons-grade uranium. The CIA has reports on this.
Anti-Zionist,
No, I'm not anti-Israel. I'm just asking from America First perspective, because it's not in our interest. They act against our interest.
Remember the short question part?
Sure. I mean, how is it in our interest that we give this money to Israel?
All right, so it's required that they have to buy American weaponry. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, the only place where all three monotheistic religions are allowed to peacefully practice. It's the only country in the Middle East where all three monotheistic religions are represented in their government. It's the only place in the Middle East that has any appreciation for LGBT rights whatsoever. It's the only country in the Middle East that doesn't throw homosexuals off the top of buildings when they find them. It is the only partner that we have in the fight against radical Islamic terrorism. And the subtext of your narrative could be extrapolated to say, well, why on earth would we have a partner like Israel? Guess what? The world's a better place because of Israel. The medical patents, the technological innovation, the human rights. The one common denominator of Israel since its founding, since Israel was legally founded in the 1940s, Israel has been under attack from every direction you can point a compass at. From the north, from the south, from the east, and the west. And guess what? They have water to the west, and that was even at war with them. And Israel has rightfully defended its borders time and time again. It's an unbelievably complex issue. So you say, how could you possibly believe in an America First policy? Well, I'll tell you what. It's important to have partners in fights against mutual enemies. And guess what? It's Israel that time and time again has stood with America against the mutual enemies and will continue to do so. Thank you for your question.
Yes, and thank you, President Trump, for moving the embassy to Jerusalem, right? President Trump moved the embassy to Jerusalem.
That's right.
Well, he is passionate about Israel and Zionism. He really came unglued, didn't he?
Yes.
He's passionate. He's been to the school.
He's graduated.
He's been to
Might be
the Zionist
valedictorian.
propaganda school. He's passionate. That came out of him. He just didn't say, well, you know, hey, I support Israel. He had the whole talking points down. That's your conservative leader, huh?
Yes.
Sitting there with Donald Trump Jr. Okay? And if you say that the Israelis killed Americans on the USS Liberty, that's a conspiracy theory. No, it's a historical fact.
Yes, that is the most decorated U.S. warship in a single encounter in the history of our nation.
Well, they should take all the medals back.
Yeah, because it's a conspiracy theory, right?
Yeah, why would you give out medals?
To a bunch of liars. I mean, if that's the case. I mean,
that's Charlie Kirk's position. That is it right there.
So he shows no honor to the vets.
The Medal of Honor. They just should take that back. The Silver Stars, the Bronze Stars, the Purple Hearts.
Well, I will tell you,
back.
the Medal of Honor, yeah, that one should be taken back. I'll tell you that
we'll
later.
get to that, yes.
But Charlie Kirk shows no honor to the men who survived the Israeli attack. He shows no honor to the men who were killed by the Israelis. He has no honor for them. I'd like to see that guy go and sit down with the veterans that survived that attack.
See the tears in their eyes. They recall that deathly, nightmarish day. As they
He doesn't have the guts. He doesn't have the nerve. He doesn't have the courage to sit down with the veterans of the USS Liberty. He's a Zionist shill. He gets his paycheck from Zionists. You saw, they're sitting Donald Trump Jr. The whole thing is a Zionist propaganda operation. And you got these Republicans and all these people, you know, cheering on Turning Point. Turning what? What are we turning into? Zionists. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're turning the minds of the American people.
Did you hear his opening statement there, Charlie Kirk's opening statement in response to the questioner about the $3.8 billion? That, well, they have to buy U.S. military hardware with that $3.8 billion. First of all, that's not true, Charlie. They use it for other things, okay? They don't use it exclusively for U.S. military hardware. And then the question is, why would we even want to do that? Why?
Doc, the foreign aid that we give Israel, how much is it per year?
About $3.8 billion a year.
$3.8 billion. So if they set aside 10% for propaganda,
$380 million. You can do a lot with $380
and you launder basically $400 million. You launder it into evangelical Zionist religious television networks and radio stations and mega churches and book authors.
You could build an army with that.
Think of the propaganda you could buy with $400 million of money that it's not even your money. You're just taking the money that comes from the United States,
reinvesting it,
and reinvesting it in propaganda and buying off evangelical Zionist ministries, laundering the money back to them. I mean, you might build museums. You might build religious museums. I mean, they raise $100 million, some of these religious museums, and they raise $100 million. And you're like, well, who are the people that gave $100 million for this stuff? And there's no Christianity here. Who are these Christians that gave $100 million for a Christian museum that has no Jesus in it?
Has no Jesus, yeah.
Yeah. Gee, I would say it was probably laundered money. I have a feeling that the money is coming from the American taxpayers. But anyhow,
being laundered.
That's just me thinking. I think like that.
Are you having a moment of frustration again?
Yeah, I am. And I got a camera on and a microphone on, and they're watching me say these things. So, Ron Lauder of Estee Lauder, he's worked up to he wants to stamp out hate speech.
I mean, who wants hate speech, right? Who's in favor of hate speech?
What is hate speech?
Yeah, that's the.
See, who created these terms?
What's hate speech to you, Rick?
What?
People that decry our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I consider to be hate speech.
There was no such term, 10 years ago?
Right.
These terms have been invented.
Right. And ask any person on the street to define hate speech. Anybody. No one can define it. And the definition, here's the beauty of it, Rick. The definition can be whatever you want it to be.
That's right.
And a year from now, it can be different, completely different than it is right now.
Right. But when they started with, diversity, tolerance, that was the beginning. That was the first layer in the foundation, okay? They got people accepting those terms. And then they started building on it. Now we're at the hate speech level, okay? So if it's hate speech, what has to be stopped?
It's become a thought crime now.
You have a thought crime. And so you don't want hate speech. And so now you have half of the American people want to amend the Constitution to ban hate speech, but they can't define hate speech.
Right.
Well, what if I say your thoughts are hate speech?
Well, both Representative Dan Crenshaw and Charlie Kirk presume to know what the questioners were thinking. You notice that on both of them? And that's what they do. They presume to know, he's saying mean things, therefore he's got hate in his head. That's the attack that...
No, they had facts in their head.
That's right.
And facts are what are called hate. Because if you present facts about what the Zionists have done and are doing, then you're labeled hate.
It's an antidote to propaganda.
It's communism. It's masters of controlling speech to control the thinking of people. So Estee Lauder, the heir to the Estee Lauder fortune, Ron Lauder, he wants a worldwide ban on hate speech. Worldwide. A global ban on hate speech.
Get it off the internet. Stop those who are espousing it, not just for access to the internet, but even joining political parties. Don't let them vote. Don't let political parties even have individuals who are saying things that might be considered hate speech. Be involved in the process of government.
I got two things I'd like to ask Ron Lauder. Well, three things. First one, when you were the ambassador to Austria, did you play a role in Jeffrey Epstein getting an Austrian passport with a Saudi Arabian address?
Yes or no question?
Yeah, I would like it. That would be question number one. Question number two, what do you know about Jeffrey Epstein's involvement with Mossad and Les Wexner?
Your friend in the mega group.
Yes,
and the
mega group. Okay. And number three, did Estee Lauder get any of their formulas for perfumes through cross correspondences? Those are my three questions.
Those are great questions.
If Ron Lauder would come on Trunews, I've already told you the questions. I'd ask you. You're welcome to come on, Mr. Lauder, and answer my questions. But you won't. You'll try to shut me down. That's your response. Your response to people asking tough questions is to shut them down.
Right. Let's pass a law.
Because you're a big billionaire. Well, whoopee-doo. Okay? Whoopee-doo. You're a big billionaire. Right? My God is bigger than you.
He's a gazillionaire.
These people, they believe in their own greatness.
Inflated sense of
One day he's going to be gone. Just like the wind, like a weed. He'll just be gone.
Nothing but rags.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's see what Mr. Lauder, we had a soundbite of him flapping his lips.
Yes, he was actually speaking in Germany as an event hosted by the World Jewish Congress. So he was giving his opinion about how the world must deal with the cancer of hate speech. It's number 6 for control.
Okay.
We must stand united against anti-Semitism, racism, Islamophobia, xenophobia, and homophobia. We must fight the haters of every people and of all people. And it's up to us, all of us, to take action now. First, all synagogues and Jewish schools must have police protection. Secondly, there must be increased and substantial penalties for anyone who commits an anti-Semitic crime. Third, Hate speech of any kind against any group on the internet should be forbidden. And fourth, I think most important, political parties must expel any member who engages in anti-Semitism.
You see who's in the audience? Angela Merkel, former Stasi.
Let me tell you, at that event, she got the Thomas Herzl Award.
Theodore Herzl. She got the Theodore Herzl Award?
Yeah, for this year.
A good old communist.
Yes.
A friend of Marx. Well, she was a member of the German Communist Party. She was in the Youth Brigade. Of course she got the award. Let's just pull the blanket back and show everybody what these people are.
Did you hear what he said?
Yeah, I heard it.
Police protection at Jewish synagogues and schools.
Well, what about churches? How about Christian churches? I have to pay for the police to be here. We pay for security.
And we get real threats.
But why he's going to get free protection for the synagogues?
Well, this is already happening here in the U.S. Remember the shooting out in Poway?
New Jersey,
no, I'm still thinking about the one out in California.
Oh, California, okay.
That they had already received $150,000 from the federal government for security. And this was before the shooting occurred out there. And I'm thinking to myself, well, where are people getting $150,000 for security guards? There's an actual, fund within the U.S. government where synagogues here in the United States can apply for compensation for security.
But he didn't say Christian churches.
No, he did not.
Should get security.
He said Jewish synagogues and schools.
What about Christian schools? Is he anti-Christian?
And he also said in there that we have to outlaw all hate speech. All right, you want to outlaw all hate speech? Quit calling us anti-Semitic. Isn't that hate speech?
You better believe it.
Is that hate speech or not? By accusing us of anti-Semitism, the least anti-Semitic people we know, accusing us, isn't that hate speech?
How about their anti-Palestinian rhetoric? How about calling all Palestinians terrorists? Isn't that hate speech? How about your founding Prime Minister Ben Gurion calling Palestinians donkeys? You want to apologize, Mr. Lauder, for his hate speech? I can name stuff all day long. You want to take responsibility? Hey, Mr. Lauder, would you promise that no Jew will call us goyim? How about that one, Mr. Lauder? Will you stop using the word goyim and goy? That's hate speech. I find that very offensive that you talk about us as goyim. That's hate speech. I want these Jews to stop calling us goyim. I'm offended by it.
And while we're at it, how about
I don't use that kind of language.
And think of the language we've seen in the Talmud, talking about Jesus, our Lord and Savior, being boiled in excrement.
Yeah.
That's hateful.
Yeah. Why don't you edit the Talmud?
Yeah, you're ready to edit the New Testament. Why not edit the Talmud?
Look, stuff this stuff down their throat. I'm fed up with it, and this is why they're upset. They're not used to people standing up to them.
They're not used to people challenging them. They think everyone's afraid of it.
We're not afraid of them.
We're emboldened by Christ.
I will die as a free man before I let people like him control what I can think and say.
Amen.
And I hope that I'm causing others to become bold.
Radical.
For Jesus. Not violent, radical for Jesus Christ. The name that they hate, the name that they go berserk over is the name Jesus Christ. They can't stand it. It's the name they're trying to eradicate.
He won.
You better believe he won. And he's coming back to establish his kingdom, not a Jewish kingdom. He's coming back to establish his kingdom.
Hallelujah.
That's right.
And it will not last 1,000 years. It'll last forever.
That's right.
It has no end. My. We have any more of these clowns, or should we just wrap it up at this point?
I think there's enough that have come out of the clown car today.
All right. I probably gave Right Wing Watch enough.
A week's worth of material.
Yeah, there you go. You people over there, you can write all your smear attacks on me. But I know who funds you. And you do too. You know who you work for. Hey, I'm going to speak while I can speak. There. who knows what they're going to do to me someday. But they can't do it unless Almighty God allows them to do it. Right?
That's right. Amen.
I mean, I don't live in fear. I just don't live in fear. I'm going to serve God. I'm going to speak, and I'm going to proclaim the name of Jesus Christ. And I'm going to declare that his kingdom is the only kingdom. And he shall reign forevermore. So I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm not going to be told what to think, what I can say, and I'm going to encourage you to believe the same thing. I hope there are enough of you out there that believe in what we're doing, and you will not be silent, but you will participate with us by praying for us, interceding for us, and by contributing every month. We're not asking you to mortgage your house. We're just asking you to give something that from what you have every month. Be faithful with it. It's the consistency that really makes a difference. Some people give 1 month and skip 3 months and then give another gift. We appreciate it, but I'll tell you what means the most to us: the people that give every month. Because it's not the dollar amount that they give, it's the consistency of their giving that makes the difference.
The faith
Why?
they exhibit.
Because we know we can count on them. We don't have to wonder, is their income up? Is it down? What's it going to be next month? All right? When people are, hit and miss with their giving, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to plan. But when you know you've got a group of people that are consistent, faithful givers, then you can make intelligent decisions about what this ministry can do. That's what it means to us when you come on board as a faithful monthly partner. The amount that you give is not the important thing. It's the consistency of your giving. Be faithful to God. He will reward your faithfulness. He will reward your faith and your faithfulness. That's a promise. He is a wonderful Heavenly Father. Go to Trunews.com. That's our website.
For all you YouTube folks, once again.
Yes. Because on YouTube, they won't let you contribute through Super Chat, of which YouTube was stealing 30% of the donations.
Mafia.
All right. So go to Trunews.com and give a gift. All right. It's Trunews.com. Click donate. And if you use PayPal, our address is support@trunews.com. And for those of you who use the U.S. Postal Service, the address is Post Office Box 690069, Vero Beach, Florida 32969. Thank you so much. We'll be back here tomorrow.
God bless you.